Minister Tuggar, thank you for joining us today on China-Africa Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Now, Minister, would you mind telling us what have been the highlights of the outcome of your visit so far?
Well, we've held the joint ministerial committee, Inter-governmental committee meeting, which is something that was signed between Nigeria and China in 2021. And this is the first plenary session, along with my colleague, Minister Wang Yi of China. So that was a very important development. And then we had a business forum, which was equally very important, very exciting, and other meetings as well.
Okay. And Nigeria has become China's important trade partner in Africa. What are the focal points of these ties, if you could give us more information?
Well, apart from the obvious, hydrocarbons, oil and gas, Nigeria is the #1 oil producer in Africa, produces gas as well, LNG. We have a 6-train LNG. We also export agricultural products from sesame to ginger to you name it, palm oil. But at the same time, we import a lot of finished products from China, and China has been investing heavily in infrastructure development. So China has been investing in rail, it's been investing in roads, gas pipelines, a seaport. The largest seaport in West Africa was constructed by China.
The Lekki seaport?
That's the one,
and
Lekki deep seaport.
And how's that doing?
Oh, very well, very well. It's already in use, a lot being exported, and it's within the Lekki economic zone. As you know, one of the largest refineries in the world is also located in the same zone, the Dangote refinery, 650,000 barrel per day refinery. So a lot of products exiting Nigeria for export from there.
I'd like to believe the locals are also benefiting from.
Absolutely, in terms of employment, because you see, with infrastructure, the effect is immediate. Because to build a bridge, to build a road, to construct a railroad, you have to immediately employ local labor. So that in itself, this is what we keep telling other countries, that the way to tackle the issue of irregular migration in Africa is by way of investing in infrastructure development. And this is what China is doing, and doing it effectively and successfully.
Okay. And facilitating trade is one of the 9 projects that Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed at the 8th ministerial meeting of the China-Africa Cooperation Forum. Now, have Nigeria and China made progress in boosting bilateral ties? How far have they gone?
Absolutely. You have a lot of Chinese businesses that are thriving in Nigeria. Only recently, there was a company that invested in minerals, in metals processing in Nigeria, in Nasarawa state. So this effectively means that a Chinese company is going to be refining, processing lithium, which is used, of course, for electric vehicles. This is the future. And we see also a situation where we continue to partner with China to develop along the EV value chain. So not only metals refining, not only refining lithium, but also assembling, constructing vehicles in Nigeria for domestic consumption as well as for export. So Nigeria is a gateway of sorts for the African continental free trade area, which China is keenly looking to participate in as well.
And then, as a partner under the Belt and Road Initiative, what have made the tangible benefits of the BRI for your country, and what strategies are in place to maximize its benefits for China, Nigeria, and China-Africa relations? under the Belt and Road Corporation?
Well, within the Belt and Road, you also have FOCAC, which Nigeria has benefited immensely. So these projects that I've mentioned to you, like rail, like road, gas pipelines, electricity projects, these are all within the fold of FOCAC. So in terms of what projects have been carried out in Nigeria, we have a north-south rail project that has been completed in most parts. We have a high-speed rail that, because what we used to have prior to this was narrow gauge mostly. So now we have a standard gauge rail from Abuja that goes northwards to Kaduna and is going to be extended again to Kano. We have a Lagos-Ibadan rail project also that has been completed. It's in use. We have an ongoing Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, Ajakuta, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano gas pipeline, which at the end of the day is going to be the main trunk line for the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, which would deliver gas all the way to Algeria and possibly beyond. So that's already work in progress. It's gone quite far. We have several road projects all over, because the three tiers of government in Nigeria are engaging with Chinese groups on developing infrastructure. So it's not just the federal government, it's also the 36 state governments.
36?
We have 36 states in Nigeria. We're people of, we have a population of 220 million people. So it's the largest country in Africa. So it's the largest market. And of course, I mentioned the deep sea port. There is broadband also. There's fiber optic cabling being expanded all across the country. Chinese groups are partnering with local companies in achieving that. Electricity, we have transmission lines, we have solar projects going on. So it's almost every sector, really.
Okay. And 70 years ago, China put forward 5 principles of peace, coexistence to build a new kind of international relations and a better world in the new era. Now, from your point of view, how essential is China's diplomacy for articulating with countries in Africa through initiatives such as the FOCAC?
We're all developing countries. China is also still a developing country, even though it has one of the largest economies in the world. It has succeeded in moving huge segments of its population out of poverty into the middle class. And this is something that African countries aspire to also achieve. We have seen how they've done it. We're trying to emulate that. China is looking at the world through a different prism. It's no longer just geopolitical maps. It's looking at it through the connectivity of globalization, connectivity that is achieved through the Belt and Road Initiative. So you have fiber optic cabling, you have electricity lines, you've got gas pipelines, roads, rail, and so on and so forth. And that connectivity facilitates for trade. What we need is more trade, but not just exportation of unfinished goods, of raw materials from Africa to other parts of the world, but we want to see countries invest locally in domestic production, in domestic processing, so that we can also be exporting finished goods. So that lopsidedness with a country like China that is willing to address such issues and that is investing is very, very encouraging. And it's a partnership that I believe will. China has put its money where its mouth is.
The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit will be held in China later this year. What is Nigeria expecting from this summit?
We expect to see more investment, hopefully. There is still unfinished business. There are certain projects that are yet to be concluded, yet to be completed. There are new projects also to be initiated, so we hope for that. Of course, I talked about investment in processing of goods before they are exported to China, so we expect to see more of that as well. We expect to see more collaboration in terms of the cultural exchanges, education, social services. There's a lot, training, and of course there's so much that we're looking to do also with regards to digital technology, with regards to creating employment within that space, with regards to training the AI itself to work, because you need a lot of people. We have a lot of skillful Nigerians that have access to fast-speed internet and that are looking to express themselves in that regard. So we intend to seize such opportunities.
Okay, all right. And in Nigeria, especially Abuja and Lagos, there's a lively entrepreneurial spirit in the digital economy. Are there any Chinese practices in the digital economy that those entrepreneurs are copying, and what is Nigeria hoping to achieve through working with Chinese investments?
Well, there is, I talked about the internet and AI and the fact that AI itself needs to be trained, and it's trained by humans, by taking the knowledge, the behaviorism of human beings, so that it mimics them, it emulates them, and it improves. And Nigeria has a very youthful population, and huge segments of those youths are tech savvy, so they're there readily employable, and this is something that we feel China is also interested in partnering with Nigeria on. Like I said, you have to look at it within the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is a common market for the whole of Africa. Within that context, you will find that Nigerian businesses, Nigerian banks that are all over Africa, everywhere you go on the continent, you will encounter a Zenith Bank, a UBA, an Access Bank, a GT Bank, and so they are in pole position to actualize the African Continental Free Trade Area. As a matter of fact, they're already partnering with the organ, giving it support, providing funding for small and medium enterprise that are looking to take advantage of the free trade area, providing training and so on and so forth. So we have that pole position when it comes to that. And if you look at the payment system itself that is to be applied, the Pan-African payment system, it is not dissimilar to the Nigeria interbank settlement system, which has existed since 1994. And all the banks in Nigeria subscribe to that interbank settlement system, which allows for real-time settlement of transactions, of payments, something that Nigeria and Nigerians have enjoyed for decades now. Even more advanced countries did not have back then. A lot of them are just catching up. And now, so when a lot of countries, developed countries, were relying on TAN numbers for settlement, for payments, settlement of transactions, and Nigerians were using their mobile phones for real-time settlement of transactions. So that's why fintech has advanced so much in Nigeria. And the same way that we're learning from others, like China, I believe that China also has a lot to learn from us. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Okay. This year's film festival, Chinese film festival, was recently held in Abuja. And a few years ago, a Chinese entertainment company joined forces with Nigerian filmmakers to produce the first major Chinese Nigeria film called 30 Days in Nigeria, with Nigerian comedian Ayo Makun, popularly known as AY. Now, cultural and people-to-people exchanges are an integral part of the Belt and Road Initiative and the China-Africa Cooperation. Now, what have people in Nigeria learned about China through such exchanges, and what stories would you like to, are you trying to tell Chinese counterparts through such cooperation?
These exchanges are not new. As a young boy, back in 1974 or thereabouts, either 73 or 74, I watched the Wuhan acrobatic troupe perform in Kano. So it's something that has been ongoing. People from my generation, Nigerians from my generation, grew up on Shaolin movies. So you see, we've been exposed to Chinese culture for quite a long time. You have Nigerians that can watch Chinese movies and interpret to you what is being said because they've watched them so many times. Right. And the fact that Nigeria has the third, some say second largest movie industry in the world also means that we can collaborate with China in terms of tapping into skills, behind the camera skills, so lighting, makeup, sound, photography, cinematography, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we're looking to we have a Ministry of Culture, the ministry dedicated to culture and such activities that is quite aggressive in terms of engaging other countries and seeking to establish relationships. There are a lot of Chinese citizens in Nigeria, and there are a lot of Nigerians here in China. And apart from that, you have a lot of Nigerians that speak Mandarin that continue to learn, and you have a lot of Chinese that learn Nigerian languages. Even on this trip, in fact, even the previous trip, I encountered quite a few Chinese that spoke to me in Hausa. Some speak Yoruba, some speak Igbo. So those cultural exchanges continue.
Okay, and have you been able to learn some Chinese words yourself?
I have.
Okay.
Xie
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our discussion, Your Excellency. I'd like to thank you for your time again.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your stay in China.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Okay.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.